everybody obsesses over their testosterone blood work. Everybody obsesses over their testosterone levels. But the truth is that those numbers mean absolutely nothing if the hormone cannot get inside the cell. And I'm about to blow your mind on why androgen receptors, not just testosterone, determine how jacked, driven, respected, and how much you actually express having high testosterone levels. So guys, imagine, let's say, a concert, right? Testosterone is pretty much the people lined up outside the concert, and let's say the androgen receptors are the doors. So imagine there's thousands of people lined up outside with tickets, and there's only two doors. So there's thousands of people banging outside, but no music is going to happen. Let's say the music is all these characteristics, right? So androgen receptors, pretty much the main things that they express is, your length, your face, if you're a woman or if you're a man, if you have a womanly body, if you've got tits and you're a guy, androgen receptors, they pretty much prevent you from having tits. So they are way more important than testosterone, guys. They influence how your grip strength, how strong your grip strength is, your traps, acne, your hand size, your nose, how athletic you are, your jaw, your strength, your arm length, how big your shoulders are, how big your feet are, how wide your chest is, your leg, how tall you are. Androgen receptors are the most important thing as a man because they're going to give you all the manly characteristics. And like I said, if you have all this testosterone, but you don't prioritize your androgen receptors and don't know what to do in terms of them, it's not really going to do anything except for make your balls bigger. So most people don't really have like androgen receptor like deficiencies or how do I say this, like a genetic disposition to make them not have androgen receptors. But when they do, they can have high testosterone, but they still end up looking and pretty much looking exactly like a woman. So like guys with testosterone, if they have an enzyme or some type of genetic disposition to make their androgen receptors inactive, they're not going to look like a man at all. So I want to teach you guys. So here's where genetics are pretty important. But here, I'm going to give you an analogy before we get into genetics. But understand that hormone level versus receptor density are extremely important. Your hormone level and your receptor density are so important. So imagine like two men can have the same testosterone levels, but very different receptor content, and they will have very different physiques. That's why you can see men who look like they don't work out, who look like they have low testosterone. They get their blood tested, and they could have 600, 1,000, 1,200. They could have high testosterone. But some guy with 600 could look jacked. You know what I mean? And I can show some examples on the screen, guys, but some prime examples are, Hussein Farah. I think his levels were like 688, but he looks jacked. People are like, oh, they accuse him of steroids, but it's really about your androgen receptors. So think of it like this. Short CAG repeats are pretty much good androgen receptor genetics. So genetics, we're going to get into that in a second, but before we do, I want you guys to understand that if you have short CAG repeats, the doors are wide, The receptor, your testosterone is going to work better. But if you have long repeats, it's narrow doors. It's going to be like thousands of people outside and a little door, so not a lot of expression. You're going to get more of this instead of this. So understand that, short CAG is more sensitive. It's more wide of a door. So long CAG is less sensitive, but everybody can win, So the people with the best genetics in terms of androgen receptors are Afro-Caribbean, so like African, Caribbean, Jamaican, stuff like that, right? Caucasian is second, Hispanic is third, and like Thai is fourth, right? So the takeaway is not to obsess over your hormone numbers, but to maximize your receptor density and sensitivity. Now, androgen receptors, genetics, they do play a part. That's why, black guys can go in the gym, touch a weight, and get big most of the time, right? But that's not all that matters. Understand, like Chinese powerlifters, even though they do have the longest repeats, they can still get jacked. They can still get jacked. Iranians, Middle Easterns, everybody can get jacked. You know what I mean? But because of that, genetics, they do play a part. But I'm going to teach you guys how to boost androgen receptor density, right? So compound lifts close to failure. They increase your androgen receptor signaling. This is the most important one, arguably, staying lean. Being below 15% body fat, because fat tissue, it increases aromatase, which is an enzyme in your fat tissue that pretty much converts testosterone into estrogen. And when that happens, it's going to downregulate your androgen receptors, and you're pretty much going to have less testosterone and less androgen receptors. But these are pretty much, those are the top two, right? 3 and 4, these are extremely important, but sunlight and vitamin D. Now, a lot of people think that they can just skip going in the sun and just take a vitamin D supplement. You can't, you have to get sunlight. The sun is the source of all life on the planet. Trees grow from the sun, and you just need to get it, right? Your body pretty much, like, you can't just get it on your forearms or your face. You have to take off your shirt, put on some shorts, go outside, go on a walk, be in the sun. But the biggest thing in today's world, people are like, oh, I get sunburned. Oh, I need to put on my sunscreen. Sunscreen blocks vitamin D production. So what you need to do is start eating an omega-3 dense diet, because seed oils and high omega-6 are pretty much what causes sunburn. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people don't talk about this, but the truth is that sunburns didn't really exist until seed oils started existing. Regardless of genetics, regardless if you're white or black, obviously there's something plays a part there, but a lot of people just make the excuse nowadays of, oh, my genetics won't let me. Like, yeah, but it's really your diet that's the biggest part, because I know people who are ginger who eat extremely high omega-3 cholesterol diets, extremely healthy, animal based. They eat raw foods and everything. I'm not saying you gotta eat raw food, but they eat like that and they don't get burned. I literally know a ginger who's outside 2 hours a day with his shirt off, and all he does is get tanned. He doesn't get burned. He's ginger. They're supposed to be the easiest to get sunburned, right? But it's really your diet. Understand that. So in order to prioritize that, you need to have more omega-3s. You need to have more collagen in your diet, because sunscreen is really internal. If you're eating a shit ton of seed oils, then your fat is going to oxidize when you go outside. It's going to burn, because the fat that you eat, the type of fat, it manifests in your cells. You are what you eat. So you can't be eating them toxic, poisonous seed oils and then expect to have dense androgen receptors and be able to take the sun. So yeah, sunlight is extremely, extremely important. This is also why, athletes closer to the equator, so like Texas, Florida, like places like that, they're usually better. Texas, Florida, California, or Arizona, all these athletes on average are much better, much, much better than athletes further away from the equator. And that is also because of sunlight, vitamin D. It acts directly on your receptors. Vitamin D is not even a vitamin, guys. Vitamin D is a hormone. It's a hormone precursor. You need it to make testosterone. You need it to convert cholesterol into testosterone. And there's lots of pathways for it to get there, but it starts with vitamin D, which is not even a vitamin. It's really a hormone precursor. But another thing, guys, creatine and Tongkat Ali. Now, I won't say go directly to Tongkat Ali, but they've both been shown to enhance receptor activity and testosterone signaling, right? If you're doing everything else right, if you're eating healthy, you should definitely take creatine and Tongkat Ali. I think that everybody should take creatine regardless. It's more of a brain supplement than it is a gym supplement, right? But Tongkat Ali, it has been shown to enhance receptor activity, testosterone signaling, but don't take Tongkat Ali as like a bandage on a bullet wound. Now, it is a proven supplement to, boost testosterone, androgen receptor signaling, but, you can't be smoking weed, getting shit sleep, not training and being fat and start taking it. It just doesn't make sense. You're going to upregulate your testosterone, have over 15% body fat, and eventually make more estrogen. And then you're going to start getting gyno, mood swings. You're going to start growing tits. It's just going to be bad. That's why you have to get below 15% body fat before you start trying to upregulate it through like supplements, right? But deep sleep and stress control, extremely, extremely important. Understand that deep sleep is so, so important. Like that, there was actually a study recently that said that if you get 5.5 hours of sleep, not only can it drop your testosterone by it can age you by 10 years if you're sleeping 5.5 hours, right? Versus 8 hours. But not only does it do that, but it makes your body burn 55% less fat and lose 60% more muscle. I can't make this up. I'll pop up the study on the screen, but that's how much sleep makes makes or breaks you, you know? And it affects all your hormones, it affects how fast you age, etc. Now, when it comes to sleep, a lot of people do shit wrong. They don't see sleep as productive. They'll just doom scroll, you know, be on their phone, blue light glaring into their eyes. It's just stupid, right? So get some blue light glasses. Don't even sleep next to your phone because EMFs are another thing. I didn't put it on the list, but I'll tell you guys. EMFs, so having your phone next to you, even in the same room as you, when you're sleeping is one of the worst things you can possibly do. Put it on airplane mode, it's going to turn off most of the EMFs, but even then, you still shouldn't have it next to you. Me personally, I have mine about like 10 feet away from me when I sleep. But pro athletes like, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo, he doesn't even sleep with his phone in the room. Now, what does that tell you? And also, I'll show you guys. I don't know if I can show you on, here, I can show you. But when you go to your settings, right? So when you have an iPhone, you go on your settings, you scroll down to general, and then you scroll all the way down to legal and regulatory, and then you click on RF exposure. It literally has something that tells you pretty much how much RF radio frequency exposure your phone is giving out, right? So if it's telling you that, it's telling you like, oh, it's at the limit, blah blah blah. Like, bro, they do studies and show that just having your phone next into your pocket, having your phone on your hip, can reduce your sperm quality, your sperm count, your testosterone, just having it next to your nuts. So if you're having it next to you while you sleep and you put it on airplane mode or just take it out the room, you're going to immediately notice a huge difference in how you sleep. And also you should turn off all the routers, all EMFs, all that shit when you go to sleep. Also block out the light so that you can sleep deeper. If there's like a street light, it's going to mess up your sleep. Turn off all the lights, turn off all the power. Take some magnesium. Do not take melatonin. Oh my God. Do not take melatonin before you go to sleep. If you do that shit, you're fucking up your hormones. It's terrible. It's going to downregulate your natural production. So wear blue light glasses. Take magnesium glycinate. Do not go on your phone. Oh my God. Do not go on your phone, bro. Do not. Your body naturally starts dropping its internal core temperature around 9 p.m. So your body really wants to go to sleep around 10. You know? The hours from 10 p.m. to 12, each hour of deep sleep from that time frame, because your body has a natural clock, circadian rhythm. It knows what time it is. When you sleep from 10 p.m. to 12, each hour of deep sleep from that time is about 75%. Your body releases 75% more growth hormone, more hormones in general, and just gets way better deep sleep from those 2 hours. So if you get like an hour of sleep from 10 to 12, you know, let's say you sleep from 11 to 12, deep sleep, you're asleep. So you lay down 10:30, you're asleep by 11. Bro, that 1 hour is going to put you so far ahead, because after like 2 a.m., your body misses out on kind of all like the stages of the deep sleep that you needed. And you'll notice it. You know, if you sleep at 2 a.m. and get 8 hours of sleep, you'll still feel like shit because it's shallow sleep. It's not deep sleep. You know, your body already knows what time it is. It doesn't matter how dark you make the room. It doesn't matter. Once you see sunlight, once your body, because your eyes are very, very UV sensitive. When you go outside and your body sees the sunlight, it knows what time it is. You know, it knows. We evolved for fucking millions of years. You know, our eyes can pick up on what time it is, when our bodies are supposed to go to sleep, when we're supposed to be working the most, etc. So go to sleep at 10 p.m. Stop doom scrolling. Damn, I got like some bullshit on my face, but stop doom scrolling. That's the worst shit. Stop. But number 6, guys, you got to reduce toxins. You know, plastics, pesticides, xenoestrogens. These are probably one of the biggest things that can silence your androgen receptor genes. So that means your body wash, your plastics, your utensils you're using. If you're drinking out of plastic water bottles, one of the worst things possible. What else? Pesticides. So pesticides, if you're eating fruits and vegetables with the skin, you need to you need to put it in a bowl of water, throw some baking soda in there, and swish it around and let it sit there for 10 minutes, right? That's what you do. That gets rid of most of the glyphosate, most of the pesticides. Because pesticides, like, you know, they leave it on the fruit and the vegetables that you eat at the store. You know, a lot of people think they're eating healthy. They just rinse it in water. That is not enough. No, there's pesticides on there. There's pesticides on your food that mimic estrogen. And it's not even just estrogenic, but it's carcinogenic. So you need to go put it in a bowl, put some baking soda, and wash it, you know, because that'll literally silence your androgen receptor genes, right? So plastics, pesticides, PFAs, parabens, stop touching receipts. Understand that, you know, in your pores, your body, you know, your skin is a mouth. Your skin is the biggest organ on your body. You know, it reflects how healthy you are. It reflects your gut health. You know, a lot of people will talk about, yo, let me get the skincare. Like, bro, skincare is mainly internal. If you have shit gut health, your skin is gonna look like shit, you know? And that comes from you eating processed bullshit. So stop eating processed shit. Like, literally just cook your food. Stop eating the Cereals. Stop touching receipts, because receipts are one of the most dense in BPA. You know, as stupid as it might sound, you touching a receipt, there's pores, like your skin can absorb that. You know, your skin can absorb like hormones, things like molecules that are small enough to fit through your pores. They can get in there and they will get into your bloodstream, and that BPA is going to mess up your hormones. And I can speak from experience, because when I used to work as a cashier and I would always be touching them damn those receipts, bro, I felt weird as fuck. I felt weird. I did not feel the same, you know? You know, aside from the fact that I was working as a cashier, I was touching receipts all day. And I mean, for like 2 months, bro, I did not feel right. And I had to cut down, because another thing, guys, is that all these toxins are stored in your fat. So that goes back to body fat and xenoestrogen. Like, these are really the main two reasons that people cannot have optimal androgen receptors, because they're too fat and they don't have enough discipline to stop eating, and they are using too many toxic things in their day to day. You know, even the underwear that you wear. So understand that if you're wearing polyester underwear and you sweat, no, not even if you don't sweat. They did a study on dogs and they gave them polyester underwear, females and males. They both went infertile. Now, what does that say about you? You who's wearing Ethicas, PSDs, Calvin Kleins, all this polyester underwear, dog, yeah, it's cool. It looks cool. But would you rather look cool or go infertile? You know what I mean? Like that's really what it is. You know, the average dude is going to be infertile in 2045. So what does that really tell you guys, you know? It's time to stop trying to look cool. It's time to stop trying to be cool, because shit, your son's going to feel the effects of your polyester underwear on your balls all the time. So stop doing that. Just wear cotton, 100% cotton, 100% bamboo. I think Hanes, Goodfellow. You mainly got to get it online. I'm not going to lie. If you go into the store, about 99% of the underwear, it'll be like 95% cotton. And then they'll throw 5% polyester in there just to fuck you up a little bit. But yeah, but toxins, you know, plastics, pesticides, xenoestrogens, that's not it. You also, guys, water. Oh my God, the water is so bad. If you ever look at a tap water drain, search up what that looks like. It's terrible. But understand that your water has birth control in it. You need to either get spring water. There's a website called findaspring.org, and you can use that to find a spring near you that can be free. There's one like 20 minutes from my house, but you guys can find, you know, there might be a natural spring near you, and people will post they'll post the quality of the water, like the pH, if there's any bacteria, etc. But yeah, that's a free way to get water. You know, you shouldn't be running to the store to pay for estrogenic plastic water inside of plastic water bottles that are down-regulating your androgen receptors and turning you into a woman. Understand that. So you need to either get reverse osmosis, get a reverse osmosis filter, put it, you know, you can have it portable, you can put it under your sink, but that will last you a very long time, and that'll save you a lot of money and a lot of damage to your body, you know? So yeah, and another thing is fluoride, you know? I should have put it on here, but yeah, guys, fluoride is, oh my God, don't even get me started, but you know, it calcifies your pineal gland, it lowers your testosterone, it makes you stupider, and yeah, so what do? You use nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste. It doesn't matter if you're using toothpaste. If you're not eating the tooth, like, it doesn't matter. It's still in your mouth. You're still gonna eat some of it, whether you like it or not. So stop using that. Stop using the tap water. Reverse osmosis. Get yourself a big old gallon jug like this, stainless steel. Do not use plastic. Stop using plastic. Stop eating out of plastic. Stop microwaving plastic. Unless you want to turn into a woman and be infertile. Stop doing that, right? So the 7 nutrients, the nutrients that really matter, guys, are zinc and magnesium, but never take zinc without copper. So zinc, I would recommend like 50 milligrams a day, copper 2 milligrams, magnesium, glycinate, only take that one before you go to sleep, but take about 400 milligrams, right? So these pretty much are cofactors in testosterone production, supporting receptor function. Zinc is probably the most important one that you need for testosterone, right? But guys, like don't obsess over nutrients. If you're doing all this wrong, like I said, like these are probably the most important things. But micronutrient and mineral deficiencies are also a huge factor in your testosterone. So you can't have any deficiencies. You can't have garbage sleep. You can't have toxins in your body. You can't be fat. You can't not be training. And also heavy training, specifically high intensity, is what you want to do. You either want to do high intensity or you want to walk. You either want to be walking or sprinting in terms of training, that intensity level. Because there's actually studies that show when you're chronically running. I mean, like, I'll just give you guys a real life example. If you look at a sprinter, if you look at an Olympic sprinter versus a cross country runner, who looks more jacked? You know? And that kind of explains the difference of why you need to train hard instead of for an extended period of time. So when you train hard, it constantly keeps your cortisol high, lowers your testosterone, lowers your muscle growth, lowers everything. Sure, you'll be good with your endurance, but as a man, bro, you kind of want to look your most capable. You kind of want to be the most capable. Now, if endurance is your goal, and go right ahead, but you do need to train heavy along with that. If you're going to be an endurance based athlete, or like you want to train for like a lot of people like to use David Goggins as an example, but they don't understand that David Goggins trains weights. He doesn't just run all day. He trains in the weight room. Understand that. And he was already pretty damn big. The dude was like 6'2", 300 pounds. He has a good amount of muscle on his frame, but some of y'all are starting at like 150 pounds, skinny fat, and you want to go on runs. Like, dude, you need to get in the gym and lift heavy weights and sprint. Sprint as hard as you possibly can. Put on some cleats, go find a hill with grass and sprint. Take off your shirt, be in the sun, and sprint and eat red meat and stop using plastic. Like, just guys, you gotta train hard. Understand that. You can't train till mild discomfort. You gotta train heavy. You gotta train hard. You gotta force your body to change. You gotta get mad. A really good analogy that I like to give my guys is like, bro, if you got into a fight, are you gonna sit there and count your punches? Are you gonna sit there and fight based on how you feel? Are you gonna sit there and fight based on how uncomfortable it is? Like, or are you just gonna fight because there's somebody else trying to take your head off? So that's really how you gotta train. You gotta understand that that's really what we evolved for. Our ancestors didn't evolve lifting weights in the gym. They evolved. They probably trained and did push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups and all that, but to fight. That's why they did it. They did it in order to fight. So that's like that's really the closest that you're gonna get to your roots. So use that analogy to kind of train hard. Don't limit yourself, guys. But understand that. So yeah, these are probably the biggest reasons why people stay stuck. Too much body fat, too much toxins, fucked up gut health, etc. But nutrients, zinc, copper, magnesium, extremely important. Saturated fats and cholesterol, right? So cholesterol. Where do you get a lot of cholesterol? Eggs, red meat, venison, beef, lamb, also shrimp. Shrimp has a lot of cholesterol, but it doesn't have a lot of like fat, which is kind of weird. But yeah, these are pretty much the building blocks for testosterone. Cholesterol, like I said, it's a precursor. You need vitamin D in order to convert cholesterol into testosterone, right? So you do need that. Make sure you're getting in the sun. That's the best, most natural form. Honestly, sunlight is a steroid. I mean, I'll tell you guys from personal experience. Like, there was this one summer when I was turning 16, when I was 16 turning 17, I put on 25 pounds of muscle in 7 months. In that summer, I was outside in the sun all day, shirt off, walking, training hard in the gym around my friends, eating steak, drinking tons of water, not having any seed oils, not going out, not having any processed food. And I put on 25 pounds of muscle in 7 months. Muscle, not fat, not estrogen water weight, muscle. Understand that. So anything is possible, but like I was doing everything right. I didn't even have a car. I was walking probably like 20,000 steps a day, training hard, sleeping 9 hours. But that's what's possible. A lot of people will sit there, oh, you're on steroids. Like, dude, if you saw what I was doing, how perfectly I was following this, you would understand. And I wasn't even taking any supplements. That's what's crazy. I was doing all this stuff right. I was under 15% body fat. I was training hard. I was getting deep sleep. I wasn't using any toxins. I was getting tons of sunlight. Way more. I was probably getting like 4 hours of sunlight a day. But the thing is, I wasn't eating any seed oil, so I wasn't getting burnt, you know? But was I taking creatine? Let me think. This was probably like 3 years ago. 2, 3 years ago. I don't think so. I wasn't even taking creatine. I was just chugging water. I was having water, coconut water, steak, pomegranate juice, ice cream. Like, bro, I was eating a lot. I was eating like 4 or 5 thousand calories a day. I promise you. But I was so active, and that really made me produce more testosterone, upgrade my mitochondria, etc. I wasn't even taking any of these special supplements. I wasn't taking ashwagandha. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just doing the lifestyle factors, the most important ones first. I wasn't even taking zinc and magnesium. I was eating the right foods with zinc and magnesium. So avocados, steak. I was eating a shit ton of steak. I'm not gonna lie. That's like my main protein intake. But yeah. But guys, yeah, saturated fats, cholesterol, omega-3s, extremely important. Omega-3s are going to kind of combat the damage that seed oils do to your body because most seed oils are high omega-6. Not only that, but they're also extremely processed. That's also a huge reason why you shouldn't be eating them. But the omega-3 to the omega-6 ratio is extremely, extremely important because the average in today's world is like 20 to 1 or 30 to 1. The 30 and the 20 are omega-6 and the 1 is omega-3. So when it's that thrown off, that's what causes low testosterone, inflammation, chronic disease, brain fog, inflammation. Like, that's what really causes all these diseases because what it used to be was either 1 to 1 or 4 to 1. That's healthy. But most people today are like 20 to 1 because all them damn seed oils from Taco Bell, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, they want to eat their damn fried chicken, and that's what happens. You get sunburned, you get fat, you get ugly, you lower your lifespan, you get diabetes and heart attacks from not having enough omega-3s in your life, right? So you need this. This is probably one of the most important things, regardless of androgen receptor density, testosterone. This is just good for your health. Men and women need to be taking omega-3s to undo and kind of combat the damage of all that damn omega-6 and seed oils in your body, right? So you guys need omega-3s. But a bonus that you should do, and I was doing this, by the way, when I was talking about the summer, that I put on 25 pounds of muscle in 7 months, you should be doing cold showers. But there's a specific way that you should do it. So you should go in there and make it warm, and then over a period of 30 seconds, slowly turn it cold and only be in there for 2 minutes. But do it first thing in the morning. Never do it after you train. If you do it after you train, you're stunting your muscle growth. You're going to stop the signaling. But doing it over an extended period of time, it elevates your testosterone, so it's higher baseline. You do need cold temperature in order to produce more testosterone. But cold showers are one of the biggest things that can directly improve your androgen receptor density, sensitivity. It directly does that, So, I mean, yeah. This is pretty much what you guys got to do to boost your androgen receptors. Don't focus so much on supplements. Focus on the lifestyle aspects. Creatine, heavy training, body fat. Please, do not ignore this. Do not ignore 15% body fat. Because understand that all these toxins that I'm talking about, guys, a lot of them are stored in your body fat. So you need to cut down not only to get rid of aromatase, but all these damn estrogens that is stored in your fat and in your gut health, in your gut as well. So, you gotta cut down. Everybody needs to cut down. Being fat is one of the worst things ever for testosterone. But, the goal really is to optimize both testosterone and the receptors. So, I mean, this is me, guys. This is me in, after COVID. Skinny, fat, gyno, big belly, no muscles. Chopped. And now this is me. People are going to look at me and be like, what the fuck? He took steroids. You know what I mean? Like, people be saying all types of shit. You can't do that naturally. Like, yes, you can. This is what happens when you focus on both. Understand that. Your face will literally change. Your face will literally change, Eyebrows thicker, hair healthier, look like a damn mop right here. But yeah, guys, like, understand that you gotta optimize both. Stop blaming your genetics. Stop blaming everything else. The only thing that is stopping you is you. So yeah. Just like, subscribe, follow the Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. But yeah. That's what you do to optimize your androgen receptors. Any specific questions that you guys might have regarding this, hit me up on Instagram, and I got you.